it's time to figure out whether or not this Protoss versus Protoss is anything like the ones that I have casted so far. I mean, a lot of the viewer-submitted replays of PvP do involve at least one cannon rush from one of the players. It's such a common strategy for some odd reason, in particular for Protoss players below Diamond League or so, to just simply open up with a cannon rush in literally every single match. Spawning in the southeast corner of Belgian Vestige, playing with the red Protoss pieces, and currently in Platinum League, we have none other than the player known as Saurudo. And his opponent spawning all the way on the other end of the map, and actually, he's sending out a probe really awfully early on into this match. He's putting down a forge as well. We have none other than the blue Protoss, known as the Angry Rob. And indeed, he is currently in Gold League. So we got a Gold versus Platinum level Protoss versus Protoss here. Saurudo will not be able to figure out that this probe is already inside of his main base, and the pylon will go up here very, very shortly. This is just such a common strategy. I don't really know exactly why that is either. I'm assuming here that, you know, players may just not be as great at defending against this sort of thing. It's funny because once you make it to like Master League or so, cannon rushes are extremely uncommon, and I haven't really seen anyone lose to a cannon rush in the professional scene for probably about a good 2 to 3 years or so. I really haven't seen anyone go for a strategy along the lines of it, but of course, you do need to figure out what's going on. Saurudo currently has absolutely no idea about it just yet, and the first cannon is already finishing up here. The Angry Rob seems to know exactly what he's doing here, putting it just barely outside of that vision radius, and only just now will that pylon be spotted here by Saurudo. Now, Saurudo did indeed send a probe across the map here as well. It's on the west end of the map. I thought he was actually using it for scouting when I saw it leave on the minimap, but apparently it did not go across the map, and instead it's gonna build a pylon here on the west end. We'll keep a close eye out on that one. Regardless though, the Angry Rob not quite done just yet with his cannons. He will be able to start shooting away at the cybernetics core, and he's simply gonna continue onwards with his aggression for as long as he possibly can. Saurudo putting up another nexus here on the low ground, simply defending against the aggression by migrating his workers to the other end of the map. And in the meantime, he's finished up the pylon here. I wonder what his follow-up is going to be. Neither player really doing all too much right now. Saurudo will be able to get on out of there just barely. Rob tried setting up the full contain there at the top of the ramp, and actually that probe will end up falling. Second probe will also end up falling. Nice little bit of micro there by Saurudo, preventing his opponent from really doing a whole lot. But at the same time, that mothership core is gonna start sacrificing itself for the greater good. For hire, it screamed, while going down to his... No, it's actually not going down. Apparently, the Angry Rob manually retargeted right there towards that pylon, trying to make sure that his opponent is going to be supply blocked. But luckily for Saurudo, he already made another pylon here, as well as one on the west end. And on top of that, that Nexus will shortly be able to finish up here as well. Let's have a quick look at the Protoss' end right here on the other end of the map for the blue player. He's got to follow this up with a gateway here, right? And if there's one thing that I noticed from a lot of Protoss players that do indeed open up with a cannon rush, is that generally speaking, they're really not that amazing at playing the game. I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to burst your bubble in case you're a Protoss player in Gold League that is doing cannon rushes almost exclusively. For the most part, even though they're opening up with cannon rushes, one thing I noticed as well is that, generally speaking, right, if the game stabilizes even somewhat, their macro capabilities aren't anything to write home about, okay? Now, I haven't seen this game, of course. Saurudo will be able to start his own forge right now as well, and apparently he chased down that single probe all the way onto the other end of the map. We'll see if Angry Rob is gonna be, you know, fulfilling that stereotype that I've got right now as well, because he does end up building a Nexus, which I do really like. I think that is the correct option. At the same time, though, this pylon is still hanging out here. Saurudo is still not quite returning that probe home. So I'm assuming he's planning to proxy something there on the west end of the map. Now, Rob did indeed take over his opponent's main base. There's still a lonely assimilator. Actually, there's two assimilators staring down at each other, because currently they do not get any mining here whatsoever. But here's the thing, right? Rob invested a ton of resources into getting this cannon rush down, and Saurudo didn't really care whatsoever. He didn't really lose any workers, and as far as the current worker count goes, which is one of the most important counters to look at right at this point in the game, he's simply ahead. It's funny how that one works out. I guess that's one of the reasons why you don't really see this sort of thing very often at the professional scene whatsoever. Regardless, Gateway did now just finish up here as well. Saurudo is going to be capable of building himself a couple of photon cannons. Now, of course, one thing to keep in mind here is that Rob will very shortly be double producing those probes here as well. Now his name is the Angry Rob. We'll see if he lives up to the name, because so far I would call his cannon rush not all too successful just yet. He's desperately trying to add on more and more workers here. Currently it's 17 versus 21. Of course, with double chrono boost though, he can pump those out very quickly, and he's also getting himself a mothership core right now too, so that will allow him to play rather defensively if indeed Zawarudo decides to move across the map. Cybernetics Core will start researching that warp gate research right now as well. You will be able to morph those gateways into warp gates here very shortly to move rather aggressively. But apparently Zawarudo, instead of building his cyber core closer to home, has decided that he wants to build one to the west end right here of the map, and he's adding on a Twilight Council as well as a robotics facility. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if that probe is currently stuck. I don't think it can actually get out of there. It seems like that is pretty much a perfect wall in until this mineral field will disappear. But regardless, Zawarudo may very well be going for a Warp Prism in combination with some Dark Templar. We'll try and keep an eye out on that and see if exactly that is going to be the choice here. The Angry Rope, of course, will be able to continue his build order reasonably standard right here. He's got a group of 4 hero zealots at the front that will try and deflect any aggression that's incoming. He already took the gases here in the natural as well. This is one of the things that I love about lower league games. One of the things that is so common is super early gases. Here's a pro tip, okay? If you're not certain when you should get your gases yourself, get them after you get all of the probes that you need on minerals. So don't get the gases until you get at least 16 workers on minerals, okay? After that, you can, you can decide whether or not you want to take the gases in your natural as well as your third base. Actually, I think I was mistaken. The probe did manage to sneak on out of there, by the way. Dark Shrine will be able to go down here. Zawarudo will also get himself that very first Warp Prism, and very shortly, with those gateways finishing up, he's going to be capable of warping Dark Templar on the other end of the map. Now, the supply counts aren't lying, however. We do see a lot of units out right now for the Angry Rope. He's moving across the map. The Photon Overcharges are available here. There's, a lot of them available in a full energy mothership core. A single Zealot trying to fight for Ire there will end up falling as well. But apparently, for the time being, that will... Oh, actually, no. I thought for a second that he was going to retreat. Instead, the Angry Rope is actually bringing the Photon Overcharge to the other end of the map here as well. Really cute little move, building up a pylon here to try and sneak out any kind of workers. Dark Shrine, however, is finishing up here. Warp Gates are already finishing up here as well. So indeed, very shortly, Zawarudo will be capable of warping in 6 DTs here, or 4 DTs here rather, either for defensive capabilities or to fly across the map and warp them inside of his opponent's main base. And that seems to be the choice for this game right now. Photon Overcharges will buy himself a lot of time. The Angry Rope trying to... Actually, he's warping in from this pylon, trying to do whatever damage he can, but at the same time, the DTs will go straight after that Nexus, and there is absolutely no detection out right now. Rope did end up getting himself a robotics facility. Apparently, Zawarudo does scout that out right now. Of course, there's also a cannon right there at the front. Please don't lose your Dark Templar to justice. No, come on, dude. You gotta finish. Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. So apparently that will now allow him to at the very least be reasonably okay. At the same time though, on the other end of the map, Photon Overcharge does get activated on that single pylon, but the defensive mothership core does end up falling there as well, and that is absolutely huge. While for some odd reason, Zawarudo is still warping in DTs on the other end of the map to try and do as much damage as he possibly can, he's losing a lot of defenses at home. Now, there is absolutely zero detection here, so just a single Dark Templar would already clean this up very nicely, and instead Zawarudo is losing so many probes. He's trying his very best to hold on here, but he's losing pretty much all of his structures. Apparently he managed to sneak out a single worker there. He's got himself a ton of additional research right now as well. 2 photon cannons in the natural of the Angry Rope will allow him to defend here for a little while longer, but there's plenty of Dark Templar to take those down as well, and I think that that is going to be the last of the Nexuses right now for the Angry Rope for this point in the game. I would really like to see just a single DT to be warped in right here. There is no detection right here, Rope. Rope's units will just simply end up falling. Zawarudo, you've got so many gateways here still. You can still warp them in, and the Angry Rope is not all too happy about this. Apparently he's like, I'm losing so much. I'm losing so many units. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that the Angry Rope does still have a lot of buildings inside of its opponent's old main base. And that's one thing to keep in mind here, because these DTs, while they can take out all of the buildings on the other end of the map, they're gonna have a very hard time killing all of these units right here on the, on the southeast end instead. I mean, Both of the players are currently revealed, so currently they will figure out exactly what is going on. Both players will very shortly figure out the last of the buildings, but I think that Zabarudo forgot about the fact that there are indeed a lot of cannons still up, and these do indeed count for buildings here as well. Now, Zabarudo did construct himself a new nexus in the nearly, empty main base of his opponent. Luckily for him, though, he's gonna be able to start mining from that here for just a little bit, but at the same time, Rob is gonna start chewing down all of the buildings who are on the west end of the map. He's gonna try and do as much damage to those as possible, and I think that as soon as he realizes that there is indeed a nexus on the other end of the map, he will be able to close out this game reasonably easily. But one thing to keep in mind is that there is absolutely no detection. Rob cannot see these Dark Templar other than with the cannons here on the other end of the map. Zabarudo constructed himself another nexus here on the east end of the map as well, and he's gonna be able to start moving forward here, and he's gonna be able to start taking down a couple of these stalkers. A few of the stalkers are already falling. Zabarudo doing as much damage with these units as he possibly can, and indeed, the stalkers are gonna try and retreat here for the time being. DT's going after all of these probes. Luckily, though, for him, there is no more, no more income right now for the Protoss player here in blue. He's got only 50 minerals in total, so he's capable of constructing very, very little at this point. And Rob, he's gonna try and take down whatever he can. I think this actually is gonna be just barely an advantage right here for Zabarudo, right? The angry Rob decides to GG out of this game. Zabarudo says, fuck off, which apparently, I think that apparently he doesn't feel too happy about his opponent cannon rushing him. A little bit interesting. Was that an offensive GG here from the angry Rob? Does he not realize that his opponent still has got nexuses out on the other end of the map? I think that not macroing for a little while actually gave Zabarudo a nice advantage, because he's once again going to be capable of producing probes here on one of his bases. Both players not all too heavy, or not all too happy rather. The angry Rob calling his opponent a loser apparently, and Zabarudo not too happy about the cannon rush here either. A little bit interesting, because Rob, for some reason, is being a little delusional. I mean, he's thinking he's got the advantage right now. He's thinking that this is the last mining base. He's thinking that he's really far ahead in this game with his single stalker, or with his group of stalkers, a single mothership core. But at the same time, he got nowhere to teleport, and these Dark Templar will not be scouted whatsoever. The last of these units are currently on the chase, because indeed they got no counter here for the Dark Templar whatsoever. Now, one thing to point out, and this actually may turn the tides just barely, is that Rob has got himself a mothership core. Rob has got himself a mothership core, and there are no units that shoot up here whatsoever. Zabarudo is trying desperately to produce a bunch of probes here on the other end of the map, but actually, maybe I was calling this one a little bit too early. If somehow, some way, Zabarudo does not get a stalker out here, which may very well happen, he's gonna be losing this game to a single mothership core. There are no units out at this point to shoot up, and there is absolutely no way that Zabarudo can close out the last of these buildings here. That's just not gonna happen. There are 4 cannons here, and 4 Dark Templar will most definitely die to this at this point in the game. Now, the last of the Stalkers, I think it will go down here because the DTs are dropping right on top of it, although apparently just barely it will manage to get out of there for the time being. But the mothership core, it's dealing damage here to the Nexus, and there is nothing that Zabarudo can do to stop that at this point in the game. There's no way, right? There is no way, right? The Dark Templars do eventually pick off that mothership core, but this is a bit of a weird game now. I mean, the angry Rob still scouting about, checking out whether or not there are any additional buildings at this point in the game, and he very shortly will figure out that the units here on the east end are the final ones for this match. A single Stalker still trying to do whatever damage they can. I lost, but you are such a punk bitch, says the angry Rob. Rob, apparently... No, Rob, you can't lose this game, dude. You haven't lost this game. You're actually in a really good spot. You got your mothership core. The mothership core will be able to finish out the last of these units. I mean, there is no way, right? Unless he manages to get a... No, he's gonna get a fort. Actually, really good thinking here. I was gonna say, unless Zabarudo manages to get himself a gateway as well as a mothership core out of his own, or maybe like a stalker with that cybernetics core, he's gonna be in a great spot. Now, apparently, a single probe is gonna be able to deal a bunch of damage and start shooting down those buildings, and just barely, Zabarudo ends up picking up the victory. Now, hold up for just a second. Rob, couldn't you have just, like, killed this Nexus, and started dealing some damage here to this Nexus as well, I mean, there is very little mining going on here. And I mean, technically speaking, Zawaruda should have been capable of dealing damage here, right? Zawaruda should have been capable of putting down a bunch of cannons to defend against this. But I'm starting to think that even though there are still so many DTs, I don't think they're capable of killing all of these cannons. And I'm pretty sure that as long as, you know, as long as that pro production got shut down, and as long as that mothership core was gonna start dealing some damage here, I'm pretty sure that there was still a chance here for Rob to potentially obtain the victory. Now, it would have been a little bit strange, but regardless, definitely the weirdest game of Protoss versus Protoss that I have seen in the last couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. And while you're at it, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Links are down below in the description. I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.